The views and opinions expressed by the guest and presenters of Radio Al Ansar are not necessarily the views and opinions of Radio Al Ansar and the Al Ansar Foundation.
نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Yes, it's Monday evening, the 3rd of November, and you with me, Anwar Moolla, on another Business Matters program on Radio Al Ansar. If it's Monday evening, it has to be Business Matters. Yes, and the Business Matters brought to you by the MINARA Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, I've got two guests with me. The second guest, who we're going to be speaking to a little bit later, is a gentleman by the name of KHAALID MOORADD, and he's the founder of HARPFORD Marketing and Media. And we're going to be talking about brand differentiation, standing out among competitors during the retail festive season. So really looking forward to speaking to KHAALID MOORADD. But before we do that, speaking about the MINARA Chamber of Commerce, I am indeed honored to have in the studio with me tonight Mr. EBRAHIM PATEL, and EBRAHIM is the president of the MINARA Chamber of Commerce. EBRAHIM, assalamu alaikum and welcome.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Anwar, and shukran for having me with you here this evening.
Lovely surprise having you in the studio. I thought we were going to be telephonic, but last minute change. So really nice to have you here.
No, I've always heard your sweet voice on radio. So this time I decided to come and see you in person.
Well, I got a face for radio. Let's say it that way. Okay. EBRAHIM, we've just had the MINARA Chamber of Commerce special awards dinner. The recognition awards. It's always the highlight on the calendar. I unfortunately was in Cape Town. I was looking forward to being there, but had to go away to Cape Town for a few days. But I believe it was a very, very lovely evening. And tell us a little bit about it.
Shukran, Anwar, and thanks for raising it. The first good news is the last time I sat here, you asked me about what suit I would be wearing, and you were telling me I need to get a new suit. So yes, I got a new suit to the function. The MINARA Business Recognition Awards is, as you mentioned, is in the annual part of the calendar, and the awards recognizes the excellence in our community. Those that are in business, those that are entrepreneurs, those that are involved in community, those that are in the professional sphere, the excellence that they have and the achievements that they've had. And not only to recognize that, but to use that as an inspiration for a younger generation. This was the 14th iteration of the Business Recognition Awards. That means 14 years we've been having it. And it's a phenomenal success. We've had nominations from across the country, from various types of business. And the beauty part of it is it tells us the depth of business achievements in our community.
Yes, I mean, I did a few interviews with the prospective winners or the people that were nominated, and I was amazed at the quality of some of those nominations. And I believe, I mean, obviously also having Imtiaz Suleiman there this year, giving him a special recognition award, which was really long overdue. So it all in all, it was a special evening.
A very special evening, and made more special this year by the fact that it was the 25th anniversary of the founding of MINARA.
Yes, yeah.
So it coincided with the two, and we celebrated that quarter century of the existence of MINARA, reflecting on its achievements from its founding and committing to its way forward. We were very honored to have amongst the distinguished guests, as you pointed out, Imtiaz Suleiman, Gift of the Givers, who received the Lifetime Achiever Award. But we also had the MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, the Reverend Musa Zondi, who spoke about the close relationship between government and business in order to make certain that the economy starts flourishing. And, we know that the economy is stagnant at the moment. There are issues that government faces. There are issues that business faces. And it is an opportunity for us to interact with government to find areas in which we can support each other.
Well, 25 years. I mean, congratulations to the MINARA for 25 years. It seemed like yesterday when it was started. So 25 years is certainly a meaningful achievement. Looking back, what do you believe has been the Chamber's most meaningful impact on the South African business and professional community?
I think it's in the vision of the Chamber, which is to bring businesses together, to create those networks. And it's very nicely espoused in our motto, which is leadership in business through collaboration and empowerment. And that is something that we passionately believe in, is that we want to be leaders in business, but to be leaders in business, there needs to be this collaboration between businesses of the community, between businesses from the community and businesses outside the community, and that empowerment of trying to create a new generation of businesses, of supporting emerging businesses. And that is giving us that impetus to the vision that we've had. I think the greatest thing that we've achieved thus far is building the network between businesses across the entire ambit of South Africa. So remember, we're the only chamber in the country that is not bound to a city. So we have chapters in Durban, we have a chapter in Gauteng, and a chapter in the Western Cape. So we're the only chamber that is across the entire country. We're a national chamber. Other chambers would be bound to cities. And so it has given us that ability to set up networks between businesses that are existing in Durban, in Cape Town, Johannesburg, across the entire country, and then to leverage those relationships to relationships with businesses in South Africa and elsewhere in the world. And I think that has been the greatest achievement. Those bridges that we have managed to bond between businesses around the world.
Yeah, the Business Recognition Awards continue to spotlight outstanding businesses, entrepreneurs, and professionals. But as much as these people are being given recognition, I'm sure more than that, how do these awards contribute to nurturing the next generation of business leaders and inspiring excellence within our community?
Well, interesting question, because that is one of the key aspects of the awards. As I pointed out at the start, is that the recognition was not just the recognition of the individuals, but to use their achievements as an inspiration for a younger emerging generation. And I think that many youngsters look at these awards and say, if those people could do it, why can't I? If they could achieve it, why can't we? And so we look at those awardees as being inspirations to a younger generation. Anwar, if we look at some of the people that were there, if I take, for instance, the Professional Achiever of the Year, Aziz Tayyab, who is an 85-year-old architect from Gauteng, and he was relating his story. Imagine at the age of 85, he's still working, he's still drawing building plans, and he's inspiring a younger generation. And when I looked at him, and when he spoke about his story, his life story, he finished school, he wanted to go to medical school and become a doctor, but in those days, you needed permission from government to go to university, and he wasn't able to get that permission. And finally, government gave him permission, but told him he can go and study architecture. And he said he'd just go and study architecture for a year and trying to find his way back into medicine. But imagine the passion that he put into it to become this very acclaimed architect, well known across the country. And he made a very telling comment. He said if he could go back to university, he'd like to still study to be a doctor.
Okay, 85 years old and still going strong. Ibrahim, I think we got a few years left in us.
I think we have a lot of years left.
The event, as you rightly said, brought together partners from across sectors. Spoke about the MEC as well, government, corporates, community organizations. How does MINARA plan to strengthen these collaborations to drive inclusive economic growth? We know the economy is stagnant at the moment, but how can the MINARA assist in driving this inclusive growth, especially in the current situation we find ourselves in?
Well, we've used the relationship that we have with government to leverage some of these conversations, speaking to government about the issues of industrialization. So one of the key points that we've tried to emphasize to government is that in order to grow our economy, and the government's plan is to have an economic growth of 3% per annum, and currently we're sitting below 1%, as you know, Anwar. And, we've got the stagnating economy. We're not growing the manufacturing base, the high value manufacturing base. And so we've used a number of occasions to have these conversations in government to say that we need a very cohesive industrialization policy. We need to have industrialization become a national priority. And to do that, we need to have emphasis on unlocking the logistical bottlenecks that exist in our country. So currently, we've seen the ports are now being revitalized. The rail network needs a huge revitalization. If we can get the rail network right, we can add 1% to our GDP just by the rail network itself. And there's research that has come out to say that a fully functioning and efficient rail system actually grows your GDP by 1%. So those are the conversations that we're having with government. The second part of those conversations is how does government then create incentives to stimulate businesses and to support businesses? So those emerging businesses, the small businesses, what kind of programs can government facilitate? So we've worked as part of the projects that we've done, we've worked recently with TIKZN, Trade Investment KwaZulu-Natal, to create an export facilitation workshop that takes existing manufacturers, particularly in KZN, and capacitates them to enter into the export market. So not just showing them where the markets are, but how to enter those markets, where would you find the research, what kind of product demand there is, and the various areas of exporting. So in terms of custom legislation, custom registration, foreign exchange regulations, so the rest of that. So create that capacitative knowledge that allows our manufacturers to start exporting and entering into the very lucrative export market, particularly on the African continent and the Middle East.
Ibrahim, you spoke about interaction with government. How seriously does government take an organization like the MINARA Chamber of Commerce?
Particularly MINARA and the other business chambers, I think government takes them very, very seriously. And the mere attendance of the MEC and the mayor, the premier was supposed to attend, but at the last minute he wasn't able to attend. The mere attendance of them shows that there's a lot of recognition for these organizations and they take them quite seriously. We are able to establish and to escalate things directly to government officials to get responses from them. And I think that because of that relationship that we have, they also take things seriously. So when we chat to them about, and I'll give you a prime example. 2 years ago, we faced a lot of challenges here in South Africa, in particularly in Durban, the water system, the sewage system, the stormwater system was all impacted in terms of deteriorating infrastructure. And so this entire issue was escalated directly to the president's office by business. And business met with the president directly and highlighted to him the impact that this deteriorating infrastructure was having on business. And so there was the Presidential eThekwini Working Group that was formed between the president's office, eThekwini municipality and business. And so when issues came up to the fore, they were channeled through the working committee and they were resolved. So a particular example, if you recall, last year we had those heavy rains, which washed away the bridge outside between Ispingo, just past Prospecting.
Correct, yeah.
And that impacted on traffic heading south because that was the only route that takes you south. But the challenge of that was that bridge had collapsed, was not just impacting on traffic moving south and goods moving to the south, but channeling the traffic through Prospecting created a bottleneck outside the Toyota plant. Mm-hmm. And so Toyota wasn't able to function because of all this traffic and it couldn't get its vehicles in or get its manufactured vehicles out. And so that was escalated to the Presidential Working Group. And if you recall, that bridge was actually fixed within 30 days. I think it was 40 days or something. Yeah. It was fixed. Something that would have normally have taken 6-7 months before it was attended to was actually within 2-month period resolved.
Okay, you never fail to surprise us. So I'm going to know, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you about what we can look forward to in the year 2026 from the MINARA, some of the initiatives and the priorities for next year.
Very excitingly, we are working on 3 trade delegations that we want to take out of the country. So trade delegations of businesses from South Africa to go to key trade destinations. So we're looking at Indonesia, which is in the Southeast Asia, one in Asia, in the Middle East, and one into Africa. Currently, we're working with DTI to find those particular destinations, and we'll bed those down. So we look forward to that because that will give our members a great deal of exposure into the export market. The second part we're looking at is cementing that relationship. We've just signed an MOU with TIKZN, which brings a closer relationship between TIKZN and MINARA. TIKZN being Trade Investment KwaZulu-Natal, which is the government body in charge of facilitating trade and investment into KwaZulu-Natal. We're also currently working on an MOU with the other trade investment authorities in various provinces so that we can cement that relationship and create more value for our members. And the third one is we're working a lot on the halal economy to see where we can unlock the huge potential of the halal economy. So last year we signed up membership with the Islamic Chamber of Commerce, which is part of the OIC organization, Islamic Chamber of Commerce, and we've established a very close relationship with them. So our focus is going to be on two very important aspects. One is on creating those networks for business to happen at a global level, and the second is to create the bridges of knowledge for our members to take benefit of those opportunities.
I think, and having said that, it would be of great benefit to people that haven't yet done it to become members of the MINARA Chamber of Commerce. So yeah, I encourage you, get hold of the MINARA offices and let your business be part of the MINARA journey. Get involved, get registered, and be part of the MINARA Chamber of Commerce. There's so many benefits to get out of that.
Well, Anwar, if I just add, it's very easy to be a member of the Chamber. All you do is go onto our website, www.minara.org.za. Click on membership. There's a QR code there. Scan the QR code. It'll take you to a page. Just fill in all the details and you can make the payment online. So everything is streamless and online.
Excellent. Ibrahim, thanks for joining me in the studio. Lovely having you here, and all the best for 2026. There's a lot taking place behind the scenes, so to speak. So we wish you and the organization everything of the very best.
Shukran, Anwar, and keep up the great work that you are doing in terms of MINARA Business Matters. We're really, really proud of the achievements that you've had on this program.
Absolute pleasure. That was Mr. Ibrahim Patel, the president of the MINARA Chamber of Commerce, telling us a little bit about the awards dinner that just took place, and lots to look forward to in the new year, including trade delegations going overseas, lots to be done in the halal space. And I did see him at the new halal checkers opening as well. So I saw a video clip and you were there, Ibrahim. So lovely store. I actually visited it on Saturday night. Amazing, actually.
Beautiful. I mean, look at the opportunities that are existing now, where you had shoppers who didn't have that value chain that they could access. And today you now have two halal checkers. They're fully halal. And Checkers has seen the potential of the halal economy, and they're wanting to roll this out nationwide now.
Absolutely. So yeah, if Checkers can do it, so can some of our Muslim supermarket chains as well. Obviously, our Muslim supermarket chains are halal, but the ambience of the store, the way it's all been set out, and the variety of merchandise are absolutely amazing.
I think that's the next speaker that you're speaking to in terms of branding, right?
Sure.
And so what's the difference between the Checkers that has recently opened and any other store? And that is what you point out. The very important key aspect is the customer experience, the ambience. Mm-hmm. If you create that customer experience and that ambience, people start talking about the business.
Excellent. Ibrahim, thank you so much. Inshallah, we'll see you back in the hot seat sometime soon.
Inshallah soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
With that, let's go for an ad break. And when we come back, we're going to be speaking to our second guest for this evening. And his name is KHAALID Mooradd, and he's the founder of HARPFORD Marketing and Media. He's going to be joining us from Cape Town, and I look forward to speaking to him.
Teaching you something new every day. Radio Al Ansar.
This segment is brought to you by Kenfield Auto, your RMI approved service and repair specialist. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Kenfield Auto.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا ربنا ما خلقت هذا باطلا سبحانك فقنا عذاب النار.
Car won't start?
Kenfield Auto.
Noisy brakes?
Kenfield Auto.
Due for a service?
Kenfield Auto. Kenfield Auto, the answer to all your car problems. Your service and repair specialist for your VW, Audi, Suzuki, Toyota, or just about any vehicle. Kenfield Auto, your RMI and insurance approved workshop to handle them all. 236 Brickfield Road, Overport. Call us on 031 207 2399. Kenfield Auto.
In South Africa, countless numbers of sick patients leave their homes at the crack of dawn to join long queues at clinics and public hospitals, many of them suffering pangs of hunger in addition to the symptoms of disease. The Al Imdad Foundation's Slice for Life teams deliver sandwiches to these patients at more than 40 hospitals and clinics across the country. Help us to keep on relieving hunger. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
It's not just about the bride, it's about family, community, and celebrating men who make our society strong. Join us for a fun-filled afternoon with the Chill Zone, Kids Corner, and more. Admission is 50 Rand for adults and 20 Rand for kids. You don't want to miss out. Presenting the Ultimate Bride Champion on November the 22nd at Al Ansar Radio, 207 West Road, Overport. Brotherhood meets competition. Proudly brought to you by the Afternoon Jam. The Afternoon Jam, 3 voices, 1 vibe.
Business matters. The title suggests many things.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If you've just joined us, you're on Radio Al Ansar. It's the Business Matters program. Business Matters brought to you by the MINARA Chamber of Commerce. And we were busy speaking to Mr. Ibrahim Patel, the president of the MINARA Chamber of Commerce, telling us a bit about the awards dinner that just took place and what to look forward to from the MINARA Chamber of Commerce next year. I now turn my attention to our second guest for this evening, and his name is KHAALID Mooradd, and he's the founder of an organization called HARPFORD Marketing and Media. Assalamu alaikum, KHAALID, and welcome to Radio Al Ansar.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and jazakallah khair for having me on this evening.
Lovely having you on. KHAALID, before we get into our topic for tonight, which is brand differentiation, standing out amid competitors during the retail festive season, tell us a little bit about yourself, born and bred in Cape Town, and a little bit in terms of your background.
Alhamdulillah. So I've been in the marketing media space for just about 15 years. I've had the fortune of working across some of the largest media brands in South Africa, on both the television, digital, and radio side, alhamdulillah. And I think what has really helped in this last 5 to 6 years of running this particular business of mine is bringing that experience into this space as well, being able to not only apply academic type of feedback to clients and share, but share actual real experience as a practitioner in market previously and currently in market, always working with my clients. We've also recently rolled out an academy aspect where we look to bring all our experience to train up local business and SMMEs, and that launched this past weekend, alhamdulillah, which is a great success. And then they've also branched out into kind of a technological AI space as well in terms of building solutions for brand. So really looking holistically at the marketing mix, in a way that supports brands, but most importantly makes it accessible to local brands as well.
Tell me, KHAALID, your customer base, is it mainly Western Cape, or do you have a national outreach?
Currently, it's predominantly Western Cape. I've worked with brands across the country, especially from a media background perspective. But in terms of engagement, I've worked across kind of the main metros. So Joburg, Durban, and South Africa, and Cape Town. Sorry.
So, KHAALID, let's get into our topic, brand differentiation. All of us want to be highlighting our products, which must be different to the competitors, and if I must say, better than the competitors. We're getting to the silly season, so to speak, November, December. People looking forward to Black Friday in November, and then the Christmas shopping rush that happens always in December. What makes a brand stand out during all time, but especially during festive season, especially when every retailer is running promotions and discounts and the like?
I mean, you definitely would have recognized this in the radio space as well, Anwar. Over the last few years, with the advent of Black Friday, Singles Day coming over from some of the digital brands, the majority of brands have really been focused on kind of discount and the value offering. And yes, undoubtedly in South Africa, we understand the economic setting and that value is important to them. But I think the reality is it creates a bit of fatigue because everyone is shouting the same thing at you. Everyone's aiming for the best particular discount. And as a shopper and as a retailer, I think sometimes we don't put ourselves in the shopper's footsteps. And so when you look at it, the reality is the thing that really differentiates brands in this time is those that are, for lack of a better word, just real. They're really authentic to our brand. They're really grounded strategically, understanding a South African consumer, not one that is just global, but really South Africans are very unique in our way, in that we exist in kind of like a festive calendar that is kind of mixed with a whole lot of other calendars as well. We have the Islamic calendar running in the background. We have a cultural mix in South Africa that makes this period so unique. And one of the things I find that marketers do really well and brands that do really well is that they understand how to monitor the entire highway. And there's three kind of things that I really see stand out perhaps. One is that they have great precision, I think, when it comes to timing based on actual consumer behavior. So they understand the market, what is happening on the ground locally, what is happening from a calendar perspective, and then are really aware on that on terms of what's happening on the ground with their consumers. Then they're able to really provide true brand value, one that understands the consumer and differentiates by experience and not by promotion. Because as a brand, when you're relying on promotion, that can only last so long. But if you're not connected with your consumer, the reality of that consumer staying and carrying on into the new year once they've connected with you is very unlikely. And then perhaps a third one that stands out for me is that brands that really have emotional resonance with our consumers and have great cultural intelligence. So brands that really understand what the South African market is about, how to connect with them, the things like family, massive generosity, quality time, especially during that period that kind of transcends religion and culture. Because when you're able to bring that across into your messaging, connect that both on air or online as well as in store, that's when you really find the proper mix that not only brings customers in over this period, but makes them stay going into the years ahead as well.
Khalid, we in South Africa, we're part of what I would call the global stage.
Yes.
Prior to 1994, we had sanctions and the like, so we were playing in our own little field here, but the whole world has now become our oyster. And we've been bombarded with international brands who have huge marketing budgets to spend, whether it be on television, social media, radio, and their reach is far. So whether it's the Nikes or the Adidas or the the big brands that are out there, they have this reach. As little players in a microcosm, I'm talking about the individual, retailer out there.
Yes.
How is it possible for that individual, retailer to compete with these big brands?
Such a good question, and it's a market that I'm really passionate about. Creating accessibility for this market to be able to stand out. And often as brands, we can kind of feel, I won't say hopeless, but when you're looking at big retailers and their budgets taking over radio stations, taking over billboards around you, you tend to kind of think, how do I stand out? And the case is not just throwing 75% off on it. The reality is that as SMMEs, I think that you actually have a structural advantage to a degree. And you just have to be strategic enough to kind of leverage it. And there's some approaches that I think really work well. The one is to really kind of be hyper relevant in your positioning, kind of whether it be geographically or psychographically. And what I mean by that is, for example, you can identify really key areas or spaces linked to your business and rather target there than try and spread your budget or your wings too wide. By targeting communities, you're able to really create more hyper-localized experiences, which, going back to the point we spoke about before, really connects you to the audience beyond just a sale price, beyond just a kind of talking point, or a big headline. You're really connecting to them in ways that matters, and people are looking to connect in the current time. The next thing I think is really, from a strategic perspective, is looking at content in bringing through kind of the fact that you have a smartphone in your hand, for example, and that in itself is a broadcast studio. I mean, I'm currently using my smartphone as a webcam, and if you're clever with the way you use this tool, and it's a big part of the workshop I just did, you're seeing brands in the current time organically reach the same or at least a little bit less than your large brands without paying for advertising. They, once again, they're connecting with audience and creating organic reach. And people are people. People want to be connected with. We're in this digital age where, yes, we're sitting online a lot and we connected to AI, but it's become even more important that people are looking for human connection. And when brands really drive that perspective, utilizing the tools they have, you're able to stand out in ways that you really couldn't imagine. And all it is for you to start doing it and start that process. And I guess the last one, which I think is really important in that SMME space, is really looking at kind of strategic partnerships. When brands are collaborating together, they are now kind of amplifying their reach, because now you are tapping into each other's to create an experience that is relevant into the audiences you serve. And I mean, for me, this is like such an underutilized kind of space within our market. You know, brands that are complementary to one another, working together, therefore sharing budget, but reaching a larger audience. There's just so much opportunity within that, so much brand building and audience connection. And also, I think what I find in going back to the point just before about the kind of customer experience, when you're working together, you really look to drive an enhanced experience. And so, in so doing, kind of uplift one another in terms of the outputs that you are creating to market and on the ground in your stores.
So, how can small and medium retail businesses build a unique festive identity without massive marketing budgets?
I really believe we have to tap into the things that matter on the ground and really connect with the tools that we already have, because we're underutilizing them. So, for example, if you are a brand who is set in a community, you don't have budget to be on the radio, you don't have the budget for kind of the traditional spaces, the reality is that everyone has free access to a social media account. You then are able to collaborate with other brands in your area, connect with them, come up with plans where you can maybe reach and support each other's communities and add value to the communities. Because we must remember, whether it's social media content or product that you're putting into market, there's always a value exchange. And so when you are adding value to people's lives, making it easier for them, making it more accessible to them to be able to access your products, when you understand the consumer journey, but then work together to create an experience, now you stand out in a way that that people will naturally connect with, and that exists to a social media audience. And the other thing that I think we sometimes forget is there's certain traditional means that I've seen to this day work well. I mean, I run an annual market, and one of the things we still do within the community where it exists is do a massive flyer drop, connecting with people at their doors. When you invest time and engage with people and gain a better understanding of what they're looking for out of experience, you're able to then provide something that is more realistic to them. And utilizing that will really make you stand out over the season.
So, in a market crowded with online and physical competitors, what role does the consumer or the customer experience play in brand differentiation?
Sure. So, customer experience is the kind of core of everything in terms of what you're trying to achieve over the season. Everything else is just kind of the packaging of it, if you had to put it like that. You know, like if you look at some of the brands that are doing really well currently in the South African market, is they really establish great or excellent kind of touch points across platforms. They have from a physical perspective, there's ease. There's an experience where you walk in as someone engages with you, they greet you, they get to know you, they understand what you're looking for, and then look at how they can enhance your experience. And as a Muslim, I think that also goes back to intention. Like if your intention is to add value, you immediately must drive that right down to the ground with the person who's not only meeting customers at the door, but the person at the back who's stocking the shelves, the person who's delivering. That culture's got to come through in terms of excellence, and that's one of the definite ways that you got to really stand out. The other one is you've got to kind of look to create separate experiences for different groups, because you are based within a culturally diverse market. You understand your customer, you know who's been walking through your doors over the last few years. So look at, for example, maybe a practical example, you could think of like a clothing retailer within the private sector. who create like spacious fitting rooms that serves kind of maybe the women that come in more easy to kind of dress. But at the same time, they understand the kind of values of the customer that's coming in. You're also looking to create special experiences for one group, but then you're also looking to elevate the experience for everyone who's coming in. So how do you look at that culturally within the audience that's coming to you? The things that's on display, are they attractive? You have to, if I had to sum it up, we have to really be intentional about every part of the customer experience with our brand. We have to look at the touch points with online. We have to look at when they come to store. We have to look at when they leave the store or when they've purchased the product. What is all of those layers like? Those are the things that really make you stand out to the consumer and make sure that you have long-term engagements and relationships over just quick wins and then never returning again. Those are massive differentiators and vital.
Khalid, many retailers depend or rely heavily on festive sales to boost annual performance. So a lot of the turnover is done in the months of November, December, so to speak.
Yes.
How can they balance this short-term promotions with long-term brand value?
I think this is a fault that many brands have made, and it creates a lot of pressure on business. Because what happens is, because there's no strategic kind of planning around that and post and pre those periods of the year, what you tend to do is find yourself in like really scraping around for things to then cover business over the months that kind of precede and then post this festive season. And the reality is that you've got to really look at how you're developing a brand that is very clear in terms of its approach. And one of the things I'd look at, for example, is you must have what I'd call a tiered engagement strategy. So you have to have a acquisition layer. So you've got to look at running competitive promotions, yes. But you've got to look at how you make them strategic, not desperate. You know, when you, for example, Black Friday, people that kind of expected the consumer behavior. They understand what is out there, but then how do you create within that? For example, do you look at VIP early accesses for your customers, or do you look at a loyal customer preview night where they get to see what's around there? Or is there kind of curated experiences built into yours that make you stand out in the market? But connected to that, you then have to look at retention, because that is where most of us are losing out. And kind of this is where kind of the real brand equity lives, I would say. So if I had to put it into perspective here, there's the customer over the festive period. They're not just kind of a customer who comes in and out. Everyone is a piece of data in a sense. And if you nurture them well, you can really kind of capture information about them ethically, obviously, but look at where they're from in terms of the market, like segment them in a sense, and then engage relevantly with them, because every customer that comes in is a bit of data, especially when you take the time to engage them. You get, I mean, some of these things that we know about maybe sound gimmicky, you know. I mean, there's certain kind of loyalty programs that exist at certain brands, but what they're looking to do through that is build data, you know. And with that information, even if you do it on a really basic level, you are looking then to continuously enhance that customer experience beyond just this period. You know, you're looking at the entire market, the diversity that you're serving, and how you better serve them. You know, so I would, for example, look at you can apply, yes, a big part of your budget over this festive period to stand out in the clutter, and looking to drive it in. But you've got to then have a plan for kind of how you do brand building in the periods before, because this will help you kind of stand out over beyond the period and be a part of the customer life beyond just the festive season. You know, like sharp at all the right times.
Okay, we running out of time, but looking ahead, what trends or innovations are helping brands differentiate more effectively during peak seasons? From digital tools to sustainability, what is it that is out there that is making the difference?
I think they're kind of looking into this. There were kind of three big shifts that I see reshaping kind of the different landscapes, competitive differentiation at the moment, and they kind of, I believe, all accessible regardless of kind of the business size. The first one naturally is AI-powered personalization at enterprise level, but also for SME pricing. So this is what I see is kind of when retailers are investing within the space, it is far more affordable than it's ever been for you to have access to these tools. And yes, I understand there is investment, but I believe that businesses of SMME size in comparison to your big retailers have access to these tools that they never would have been able to access to. And so this is one of the places I really find an opportunity for brands to grow in terms of how they are differentiating themselves in market, personalizing experiences. The next part would be values-driven commerce, because here there's an opportunity to really establish your values. And when brands do this well, yes, the reality is that things are accelerating across all demographics currently in South Africa. And the thing is, consumers are always choosing between brands all the time. Things are being driven at them all the time. And so when there's all this theatrics happening online, when you have core values that stand out, they are still a massive connection with brands. When you're transparent or you have kind of ethical sourcing, you have a great labor practices. People love when they see happy laborers working for a brand that connect with them on the ground. When you have when you invested in environmentally, or you really community driven in terms of how you are as a brand, this is massive to the audience. And it speaks to, for example, we spoke about earlier in this show about the halal stores opening up for checkers. This is understanding the need of the market, linking it to your values and creating an experience that now enhances that community's experience. And then I think we're in a time where it's really a social first environment currently. And what I mean by this is terms of there's like a great distinction between social media and e-commerce, and that used to exist, and now it's kind of merged into one. You have things like TikTok Shop and these things coming into play, Instagram shopping, WhatsApp business catalogs. These have really transformed the kind of customer journey that we previously saw, and the cost of it for brands as well. If you look at what it was to have an e-commerce store maybe 3 to 5 years ago and what it is now to be able to sell on these platforms, it makes it far more accessible, but the consumers are trusting these platforms, and we're seeing massive growth globally and a growing market locally across those platforms. And I think these three accessible spaces from a trend, but also a on the ground perspective, really will assist business where it matters.
Khalid, lovely speaking to you. Lastly, if you want to give us some details in terms of if people want to get a hold of you and pick your brain or get you to do some marketing for them or advise them on marketing, which is the easiest way to get a hold of you?
So the easiest way would be email or phone. My email address is info@harpford.com. So it's harp, HARP, like the instrument, and Ford like the car. Or you can get hold of me on 084-734-2601. And finally, you can obviously check out the website at www.harpford.com. We'd love to connect. We love to connect with local brands and gain a greater understanding of what challenges they're facing. And obviously, everyone has unique challenges, but there are core tenets, I think, that we're able to assist and guide brands on that will really help them during this period.
I can't let you go without asking you where the name Harpford came from.
It's actually the name of the road I live in. So there's a connection to working from home, but it's a name I always liked, and it just clicked at the time.
Okay, excellent. Khalid, Mooradd, thanks for sharing your wonderful information with us and for giving us those lovely tips in terms of how we can build those brands and take them forward into the festive season. And inshallah, those lovely tips pay off and people may use them to enhance and grow their businesses, inshallah. With that, we would sign off for tonight. We'll sign off, and it's time for the Isha Azan. I'm going to rush off to the janaza of the late Saber Kaji, just down the road here at Masjid Hilal, a friend from the days at Orient School who passed away sadly today. Allah grant him Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah, Ameen. With that, it's goodbye for another week, and inshallah see you next week Monday on another Business Matters program. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Religion survives and thrives because of business. Business has to encompass not just financial commodity and service transactions. It has also to include welfare, justice, empowerment, environmental and other issues too. Every week, Business Matters will delve into aspects of business that impact our lives. We will seek out extraordinary and ordinary people.
Radio Al-Ansar, 24/7. 365.
This Azan is sponsored for the Isale Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Farooq Latib and all Marhumin. May Allah